very quick, I won't call it answers because I am not competent enough to answer questions raised by Professor Mohite at all. He is not only elder to me by age, but by experience and knowledge, he is far superior. But there are some issues that we discussed yesterday, and on the basis of that, some questions have come. So I'll try and address them and clarify a little bit. The question was, in 1947, many countries around India and even outside India, like the British, had their own view of India, how India could be used for their purpose. That is why they established Commonwealth and made India part of the Commonwealth. So the Americans wanted India to be on their side for a different reason. Even the partition of India was an international conspiracy. It was the game plan played mainly by the British, and at that time the Western world, for both the British and the Americans, during this First World War, America was nowhere. During the Second World War, till the Pearl Harbor happened, America was not part of the war as much as the Great Britain was. So we should always remember that the global strategy was being worked out not by America as much as it was by the Britain at that time, and both considered Russia as their enemy number one. So after the Cold War, during the Cold War, we see this position, and even today the Western world together considers Russia, and now because of the turn of events, China, as adversary. I won't say enemy number one, but adversary. So in order to keep Russia away from Indian Ocean, the whole idea of creating a buffer between Russia and preventing Russia, Turkey, Iran access, they required a buffer, and they thought a religious buffer would be better because of the communist Russia. So partition, I am not going into the history of partition, it's a very different subject and a very vast subject. But in this case, the questions raised by Professor Mohite is very correct. We have poverty, we have all the characteristics for a successful revolution as far as Great Britain is, as far as communism is concerned. Now, communist revolution is a misnomer. Karl Marx said that revolution will take place in a country which is highly industrialized. He, in his whole life, did not visit Russia or China at all. He had never visited Russia and China, and he never predicted a revolution in Russia or China. So the revolution, 1970 revolution, was characteristically an opportunist revolution, which succeeded because of certain reasons. But then the communists thought that any country which is poor, which is disunited, which doesn't have a strong administrative setup, is an easy prey for us. Why they did not succeed here? The main reason was, I did not say religion. There is a very basic difference between religion and the idea, the spiritual idea of oneness. What I use the word, particularly I use the word dharma. Dharma is not religion. Religion is method of worship, certain faith. Religion is only method of worship. It is not dharma. Dharma cannot be translated in any other language, and it should not be translated in any other language. I would really request all of you to read Nani Palkhiwala's book, We the People, published by Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan and translated into so many languages. In that book, We the People, Nani Palkhiwala uses the word dharma, and he says, I have asked the publishers not to edit the
Colonel Gulshan Mongia, New Delhi. Colonel Gulshan Mongia, New Delhi, being felicitated by Professor Dr. Vijay Khare with a shawl and a memento. And Lieutenant Colonel Sudhir Khan ka Sena Medal, Dehradun, Uttarakhand. Lieutenant Colonel Sudhir Khan ka Sena Medal, Dehradun, Uttarakhand, being felicitated by Professor Dr. Vijay Khare. Thank you, sir. Yeah. I request Professor Dilip Mohite, sir, to chair this session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. My esteemed speakers on the stage, my colleagues, and Professor Vijay Khare, of course, the main actor of the seminar. I have a great privilege of chairing this particular session, and the topic is, of course, quite challenging, if not fascinating. Law enforcement and internal security. See, when we became independent, there were certain vociferous tendencies, cultural, regional, or could be even political, that came as a big challenge to the unity of India. In this particular context, I have one particular, remark to make so that the speakers can include this particular aspect, that the biggest law enforcement challenge to India's independence came from communal violence. There were violences in Amritsar, Delhi, and that actually created such a delicate situation for law and order that, as I mentioned in my keynote address, the government had to tell Lord Mountbatten, who was the Governor General of India, to take over the law and order situation. Another point that was probably what probably I would like to mention is very clearly that people talk about having partition as a great shock or greatest, tragedy of Indian subcontinent. Professor Chari very rightly said that today we are able to make certain judgments without realizing the situation that existed in 1947-48. See, the demand for separate Pakistan was rooted in the history. We cultivated, they converted, and created a big force. And that particular, incident could not have been avoided. If we had not partitioned, my own submission is there would have been a revolution and that part would have got separated from India by force. Today you take example of Pakistan. What's happening, what happened immediately after partition, within few years? MQM movement for a separate Sindh. Then there was a, Baluchistan movement which is going on now for independence. So far as northwest frontier is concerned, it's a volatile region, not completely under law and order condition of Pakistan. I won't go into the details, but come down to the brass tacks that law and order situation in India, apart from what happened in India soon after the independence, communal violence, there were certain tendencies by which everybody wanted to maintain their identity, if not directly, indirectly. The separatist tendencies were actually part of history. And if you take the Naxalites movement, the leftist movement, it started then and even today it is going on. Of course, it can be on the, it is on the low key, but it's a very, very alarming factor for the unity of India, an internal law and order situation. Then you take the Northeast. Nagas were fighting for their independent state. Mizoram were also trying. And there is a saying that if you have a kind of a movement like this, and if there is a sympathetic neighbor, then such movements get boosted. So Northeast was actively supported by China. The Khalistan movement was actively supported by Pakistan. And then, to tell you one thing which is probably was narrated to me by a military intelligence officer, a top officer in Mahu, that there are moles even in the Indian Army. There are certain agents, they are operating in the Indian society, and their religion is not Islam, neither Hinduism, nor Jainism, nor Buddhism. Their religion is money. So they can be bought by money, by luring into some other temptations, and that has created the biggest law and order situation. The other alarming factor is the drug. Drugs are, see, if you look to the newspapers, every day drugs worth crores of rupees are being caught. But then it could be only 10% of what exactly is being caught by the security forces. But then about 70 to 80% of drugs, they go undetected, and that reaches the grassroots level. Now that is going to also create a kind of a tremendous security problem, not only from the point of view of external or internal security, but health security, if you take. So it is all over a security problem. The police force or the security forces related to the police force are corrupt. They are not actually honestly performing their duty. Like if you take prohibition, Gujarat is a prohibition area, but then we are extremely worried about the youngsters taking to drinks, driving rashly, either the four-wheelers or the two-wheelers, and that is causing practically every day news titles. Now, these are some of the things which we have not been able to overcome, but they are on the increase. So, this is a crucial issue with which now we are going to deal. It's going to affect our law and order, the situation where one can pursue peaceful pursuit of his goal, ambition, and so far as internal security is concerned, these are the tendencies which are threatening the unity of India. The dream that was there by Sardar Patel, the unity of India, is getting shattered by the present, trends, which are very, very alarming. With this, few remarks, now I invite Professor Mohanan Bhaskaran Pillai to make his presentation either from here or from the dais. Okay, that is better. I prefer that.
Again, I would like to repeat offering my gratitude to Professor Khare for giving me this opportunity again to meet you with a presentation. In fact, in a short notice, a very short notice, I have assembled some ideas in the form of some stray thoughts. That's what I'm going to present before you. I think we have to, when we talk about law enforcement and internal security, what are the lessons that we can draw from Sardar Patel's actual practice of managing the internal security issues. So then, what are the important security issues confronting India of today? There are so many. Professor Mohide has mentioned a few of them. Left extremism is there, as he has rightly pointed out. We have problems of divisiveness in the Northeast. We have problems of human security. Security, internal security and its management is not just a law and order problem. Human security, livelihood issues. There are some 500 districts of India where this left extremist groups have some foothold. That is really connected with the issues of social development. So that issues are there. Then water security or conflicts related to water. Above all, the internal security problems emanating from I would say political Islam. I'm not talking about Muslims or Islam. Political Islam is a different category. And the threats, security threats of political Islam is something very huge, particularly the kind of inputs that are coming from the certain trusts from Saudi Arabia and that region through Pakistan. Pakistan is a breeding ground for these kinds of activities. And it's getting transported to India, particularly the southern India, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh. These states were by and large secular in nature. But here, political Islam has made very big inroads that has communalized the society. So how to tackle this issue? That's a major, how to manage. This issue is also one of the important aspects to be considered. So overall, these are the security issues. Again, some of them have external connects, or it's coming from internal security issues or problems have extra-regional linkages. So managing it, it's a complicated affair, particularly the divisive tendencies in the Northeast, or also water-related water conflicts. And all these have an extra-regional linkages. So its management is much more complex and complicated. Now, what are the lessons that we can draw from Sardar Patel, the way that he has managed issues? Yeah, one more, the cyber crimes, cyber security is also another important aspect. we have already discussed that Patel was the unifier of a fragmented subcontinent. With his strategic thinking and with his diplomacy, sometimes coercion, then back channel diplomacy, all these things he have applied, particularly in integrating more than 560 princely states. He didn't apply, we cannot say that brute force. Of course, Hyderabad is a different case, Junagadh is a different case, but even then, he was a man aware of the fact that identity or secessionist tendencies, sentiments can't be solved by force alone. It requires an intelligent combination of diplomacy, community engagement, and state presence. So this community engagement is very particular lesson that we can draw from the contributions of, or actual managing of internal security by Sardar Patel. Particularly in the case of this left extremism or political Islam, this community engagement is something, one of the important lessons that we can draw from draw from Patel. So another thing, again, lengthy discussions have happened here in the morning. The steel frame of India's administration and his contributions in creating that, both IAS and IPS, Indian Civil Service was there. We can say that he refabricated it to suit to the free India. So that's his contribution. And that even now continues as the important agency of law enforcement in India, particularly the IPS steel frame. Another important lesson, what I think that has that we can notice, observe in Patel's management of internal security is what we can call central coordination instead of centralization. He was not in favor of centralization, but central coordination. And that in a way we can say that it includes, particularly in the present context, it includes intelligence sharing, operational synergy between various agencies of law enforcement like IB, NIA, and state police. So intelligence sharing and that kind of coordination, central coordination. But actually it's not centralization. So these are all some of the important aspects. Again, it has to be non-partisan. Now, in the present context, partisan politics has inflicted the security agencies also, particularly police. There are certain states the police, within the police force, you can find infiltrament of the extremist groups or their agencies like that. So that is a major challenge to be addressed. So these are all some of the important points that I would raise as part of a straight thoughts in the management of the law enforcement, what I would call Patel's legacy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. With the permission of the chair, I would present my paper on social political changes in law enforcement and internal security within a shrinking welfare state. And here I would like to revisit Sardar Patel and Babasaheb Ambedkar approaches to unity, nationalism, nationhood. In fact, the detailed paper which I have drafted concerns about the vision and approaches of Sardar Patel and Babasaheb Ambedkar. But when I discussed with Professor Vijay Khareji about this seminar and what we expect from as outcome from this seminar, and also after listening to the debates during inaugural session and 2 sessions, I really appreciate and I'm very thankful to Professor Khare for giving me this platform to present my views. And the most important thing to consider, because all our forefathers, those who have made contributions, their sacrifices, they are the great leaders. And we have to understand their approaches in present context so that future India continues to be safe, secured, and sustainable. Friends, much about Sardar Patel with regard to his approach as Iron Man to unite the India that we are living in. And when we talk about diversity in the country, because a student of Dr. Ambedkar thought and philosophy, and also I come from the environmental sciences, I understand the biodiversity, more the diversity, more the sustainability. And in terms of diversity, if we see, there are so many threats to our internal security. As Honorable Chairperson rightly pointed out in initial remarks, that communal violence was there, but more concerning to me is the caste-based violence. Just with the empirical study, I would take to the perspectives, prospects, comparing, rather revisiting Sardar Patel and Babasaheb Ambedkar in making this nation. In fact, I got the opportunity to have a data analysis of more than 6 lakh cases of atrocities in 10 years, in a decade. And the conclusion from that study is similar to what we are going to discuss: internal security and law enforcement. When you analyze the law enforcement, the number of cases they are pending in our courts, then the civil cases, more than 50% they are related to land. And when it comes to diversity, 80% cases are related to caste. So if these two are very important to our internal security and law enforcement, then how we are going to deal with perspective from these two stalwarts, Sardar Patel and Babasaheb Ambedkar. Sir, in Mau, the birthplace of Babasaheb Ambedkar, and also the establishment of important premier defense institutions like Army War College is also there. Once the commandant there, Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh, he was interested in doing PhD, though we were having initial discussions on these aspects with regard to national security, nationalism and all these aspects. And he was in favor of having the research area related to charismatic leadership. And certainly when we discuss about the charismatic leadership, Sardar Patel is very much evident for uniting the country. And when it comes to Babasaheb Ambedkar, making the constitution, drafting the constitution, he is there. But when you want to select one, either of the two, then it becomes difficult. Because from the Western perspective, I've been teaching research methodology for last 3 decades, so I understand how we approach towards these concepts subtly, and we have to understand the nuances there. So individualism is a concept emerging from the West society. And for centuries, we are living in collectivity. And that collectivity is the outcome of contributions from one and all. You cannot compare. It really pains when we compare. That's why rather I have taken this revisiting these two perspectives. So with my best regards and taking apologies, not to misunderstand me in that perspective, but when Professor Chari was mentioning about single-handedly this leadership of Sardar Patel, it presents a lot of question before us. Because unification of India definitely was led by Sardar Patel. But what we are witnessing today in present context become very important. And for that I take Baba Saheb Ambedkar two perspective rather. First, language, because in the pre-lunch session it was discussed language is not the unifying force, but many of our states, you see in Maharashtra, you see in Gujarat, the language is the very strong unifying force. So Baba Saheb Ambedkar was in favor of having language as the basis for our state for reorganization. Why so? Because language gives us the we feeling. Language gives us the security and internal security, because most of the differences that we see Hindi and non-Hindi, it's because of the states, they are not appreciating the concept or respect towards each and every language that we have. So if the unification is by force of law by Sardar Patel, then its sustainability could have been thought in the language that Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar was promoting. So why I want to mean, it was very necessary to unite the princely states at that time. But there must be a thought of sustainability of the efforts. And today, when we witness the language problem, the language issues, it really concerns us. Could there have been an integrated approach of these two stalwarts, Baba Saheb Ambedkar and Sardar Patel? That would have been more meaningful, because Baba Saheb Ambedkar was in favor of smaller states with regard to size also, with regard to population also. And the reality we witness, sir, Chairman sir, the reality is that Bihar, we have got 2 states, Uttar Pradesh, we have got 2 states, Madhya Pradesh, we have got 2 states, and all these were envisioned by Baba Saheb Ambedkar. For Maharashtra also, he was in favor of having 4 states, and I have studied in Vidarbha area, and you can understand the differences Konkan and Vidarbha and Mumbai itself. So this national security issue, nationalism and unification of the country, we need to understand from different perspective in terms of, as I said, from the sustainability point of view. So if Dr. Ambedkar was envisioning this, and after 7-8 decades, we are in this reality of having smaller states, and in future we are going to have more, as Dr. Ambedkar envisioned, then this unity and integrity of the nation lies in the Baba Saheb Ambedkar's model of social justice and security that he wanted to give to the people. Because land and caste issues, they are very close to the almost 70-75% of the population of the country. So it's a concern of the majority. So in a seminar, we must have a debate about the sustainability of the approaches that we adopted. And empirically, we have to see. Empirically, we have to confirm. Because seminars are not just for the hero worship that we are here, have to be very critical about understanding what are the problems that are emerging and what are the problems that we have to counter and face in future as well. By force, if you see the law enforcement, by force, the social concerns are much more important and crucial. Of course, there is identity. Whenever we have communal violence in our country, then if the police fails, then army is the only answer. And they control very easily. Why? Because they have got the identity. You see about the national security, Dr. Khare has written rather a PhD, he has done a PhD on this national security, Baba Sahib Ambedkar vision. He is a much better person to explain on that aspect. But when it comes to identity, definitely we have got such strong institutions to play their role. So can we assign this kind of thing of having unity and integrity of the nation on certain people? Then what about the army, the defense? The strongest army now we are having. How we integrate these institutions in these approaches? So friends, my submission is individualism will never work for a diverse country like ours. We need to have collectivism. And that's why it's not far away ideological approach of Baba Sahib Ambedkar to have the consolidation of small and marginal land holdings. This collectivism is very important. Baba Sahib Ambedkar was in much favor of collectivism, and through collectivism also we must understand the national security. And this collectivism is not there. That's why the caste-based violences we are witnessing in our country. Why? Because the sole agenda, the main agenda with Baba Sahib Ambedkar was annihilation of caste. And we are in very much favor of caste census. I was in Vigyan Bhavan, sir, and the then rural minister was chairing one committee. And I just said about the caste, you don't have academic consensus how you define a caste. And if the consensus is not there, then there will be an internal security problem because so many castes may be emerging. And when you know the caste of scheduled caste, you know the caste of scheduled tribes, then why we need, for whom we want to have the caste census? So friends, let us understand the vision of Baba Sahib Ambedkar. A casteless society, the egalitarian society can only be nationally secured, and the nationalism feeling, the nationhood feeling will be there. The barrier to nationhood feeling is the caste. Because when we take the fold of the caste, then our national identity lost and we become caste fellow first, then our identity as nation becomes the second one. Baba Sahib Ambedkar was in favor of being Indian first, Indian last. So what Sardar Patel was unifying the country was related more through enforcement, and what Baba Sahib Ambedkar was through constitution. If you see the preamble of it, the very first few words only define it. We the people of India. That is the consolidation. That is the collectivism. No single person is there for the India. It's we all. And that is the spirit we must have for our national security and nationalism. We the people of India is the nationhood feeling that we must have. So when we were making this nation, when we were building the nation, the biggest barrier was caste. And as empirically I said, majority of the cases with regard to diversity pending in the courts and law enforcement through Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act, which I analyzed for 10 years, the law enforcement is very weak because we are still considering caste as a major reality in our society. So how we address this caste issue, we must understand from Sardar Patel also. Why Sardar Patel and Mahatma Gandhi, Nehru, they were against this point of view. Then the new article that is there, existing article, Article 17. If you see the Constituent Assembly debate, who were participating and why they are participating. I'm thankful to Professor Chari. He rightly said there is nothing like Hindu. It's adjective, he said. Of course, for a nation, it is adjective only. And many of us have started using Sanatan word for that instead of that. So if in the Sanatan, most of us agree caste is not existing and Hindu we are not accepting, then our nationalism very much clear from Sanatan based on caste-less society, and here Baba Sahib Ambedkar is very important. So our constitution made us stronger. We are able to stand here and discuss because of the constitution. And when in the pre-lunch session it was being discussed how other countries are weak, whether they are from religion, this religion or that religion, it is because of their weak constitution. Because our consolidation as a nation is through the constitution. And the mechanism that we have created in today's newspaper also, you can understand what Supreme Court is making objections and what legislative they are telling us. And they are not in confrontation. With due respect, they are making their comments and as their separate identities so that there is a check and balance, there is a control. This is the beauty of our constitution, and because of this, we are as a nation standing very stronger. So, law enforcement, internal security, we must revisit Baba Sahib Ambedkar, Sardar Patel in context of the interior security challenges they are emerging from the caste violence. And there are so many other things, but I am not taking it that way because I have got empirical understanding from this particular perspective. And when we want to take the Sardar Patel's point of view, then definitely that approach was very much needed during that time, but it must be integrated now. The law enforcement approach of Sardar Patel, calling Iron Man, and Baba Sahib Ambedkar, crusader of social justice, when they are too integrated, then law enforcement becomes effective, impactful, and internal security becomes very safe for us. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Chair. No, so long all of the invited speakers and Professor Khare has spoken. I think I am the first one to speak who is from a different generation altogether. I am much younger to all of them. And taking advantage of my young age, I am trying to be a bit adventurist. I was thinking from morning that if if Sardar Patel, Vallabhbhai Patel was sitting in this room from morning, what would he feel? I think he would tremble at the inaugural session itself because the inauguration started with a regional song, Marathi song. I do not know the meaning of that song, but in Bengal also we started Rajyo Giti, Bengal song. And Bengal song is Banglar Jol, Banglar Mati, Punno Hok, He Bhagavan. It means that the soil, the water of Bengal remains pure. Almighty, please help to make it pure. So the very first idea of nationalism that we are discussing in this seminar, and what probably Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel envisioned in the last 2.5 years of his life. After his death, it vanished, and regionalism is there in place of nationalism. So let us understand the basic problem of internal security is all the various points that chairman discussed in the beginning. Apart from that, the basic problem is that hardly our country is united. Because in the Karachi presidential address of Congress in 1931, Vallabhbhai Patel told that our unity should be unity in heart. There should be fellow feeling. But today we see Asmita, identity. We have Gujarati Asmita, we have Marathi Asmita, we have Assami Asmita, we have Bengali Asmita. So if this regionalism, is regional identity, and then in our constitutional structure, there is a federal structure, but we always think that it is a bargaining federalism. Each federal unit is bargaining with the center to get the better share of grants, of aids and all those things. Hardly we have a national vision. Today, the present central government has presented us with a vision for future, Viksit Bharat at the rate 2047. When this idea is in front of us, whether all of us, all the country together are unitedly progressing towards that idea is the biggest question that we must address today. And I think we have to revisit Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel idea of nationalism. Patel wanted to integrate the Prince states with Indian Union, not only to create a geographically cohesive unit, but also to create an idea of unity. Because Patel wanted to see India as a transformed India. Independent India must be a transformed India, because there should not be any divisions, princely states, narrow parochialism, regionalism. There should be one nationalism. We must all work together, progress towards betterment of our nation. And that's why, as I was reading the available literature on nationalism as political philosophy of Sardar Patel, I came across comments like realist nationalism. Patel's nationalism as realist nationalism, intense nationalism. But I would like to redefine it as transformative nationalism. Because Patel's idea was to transform a divisive, pre-independent Indian geographical structure to a cohesive geographical unit, to a one geographical unit that is India. And that's why he negotiated so vividly with all the princely states at that point of time. When we talk about nationalism today, we always think of nationalism in terms of external threats. When there is external threat, we think we must be one, we must be together. I come from a state, West Bengal, where today we are fighting the communal tension, and we are seeing that internal security and external security is mixed. One particular opinion is coming that it is an internal law and order problem. Other opinion is that it is an external law and order problem, because some some Bangladeshis have probably entered our country. So the internal security problem and external security problem has been mixed for political reason. This Sardar Patel won't have allowed if he would have alive today. So therefore we must redefine nationalism as transformative nationalism. We must think not of region but of nation. And there is a very good chance before us, because today we have a goal before us as Viksit Bharat. There are many templates of development, of resurgence, starting from science and technology to social justice. The whole lot of issues are there, and we should be one in that direction. There is also another issue of tensions. There is tension is there because we have difference of approach about how to make social justice. And we always think of creating a system. It is my idea, it is the idea propagated by one, maybe from morning we are discussing about personalities. But Sardar Patel was not a system builder, he was a man of action. And therefore, in one constituent assembly, he was the chairman of the advisory committee on fundamental rights and minority issues in the constituent assembly. And there he categorically stated that it is, in the long run, it would be meaningless to think of us as majority or minority. We should think as one unit, and that one unit is Bharatiya. We should be proud of the country, we should be proud of the vision of the country. And in that respect, this transformative nationalism, if we redefine the nationalist philosophy of Vallabhbhai Patel as transformative nationalism, then we can actually have all the federal units on board and we could go beyond parochial political interest. See, it is not an issue that whether you are having your own state song or not, but we all rise to our national anthem as well. But having a state song, having a Asmita kind of approach creates some kind of a distance from the overall goal of nationalism, overall idea of nationalism. So nationalism is not about a very abstract philosophical idea. It is a concrete idea where we must all come together to work together to make the image of our country better. Because whatever happens internally, even if communal tensions happen, even if some social justice issue, injustice issue happens, caste violence happen, in this era of science and technology, this image, within seconds it will be proliferated across the world. So it is not good for India to remain divisive in our federal units, across federal units. There may be problems, there may be issues, but it should be sorted out through dialogue. V.V. Giri, I would just say that V.V. Giri once told that the handling of national affairs of Vallabhbhai Patel reflects his understanding of men and matters. Vallabhbhai Patel was always in favor of unity, communal unity, that there should be unity between Hindu and Muslim. And he made a very important remark that whatever riots are happening, whatever communal tensions are happening, are not because common Hindu or common Muslim people. Because these common people, they are working, they are performing on the basis of a command. So he called it command performance. And he thought that the best way to achieve Hindu-Muslim unity is not to work on basis of a command performance, but on the basis of a consent performance. Whether these riots, these communal tensions, these problems of caste, these are inbuilt within the common people of that caste, of that region, or it is manufactured. That is very important to understand and critically interrogate. In the morning session, Professor Chari was mentioning about one sloka from Mahabharata, Bhishmacharya's sloka. And here he mentioned that the duty of the ruler is Rakshan, that is protecting the people, welfare of the people. And Sardar Patel, in all his demonstrations, revealed that all policies to him, the yardstick was welfare of the people. Whether the policies are in favor of welfare, the upliftment of all the people, all the region together or not, I think it is our biggest misfortune that we lost Patel so early. And the whole idea of Patel could not be properly implemented. The one good example was that Patel was in favor of privy purse. When these princely states were integrated, Patel was in favor of giving them a solace, some amount as privy purse, but it was abolished later on. So by this instance, we can understand that many of the ideas and visions of Patel was bypassed after the death of Patel. And therefore, it is high time, it is the right opportunity and right time for us to debate and deliberate and analyze Patel's contribution. I would just end by reminding you all about one book written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. Bankim wrote about Krishna Charit, and Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay was propagating that who should be a good national leader, whom we should emulate, follow. And according to Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay, that character should be the character of Lord Krishna in the battlefield of Mahabharata. That we must follow. But given the scientific temperament that we have today, we don't know whether Lord Krishna existed or not, but we know definitely that Vallabhbhai Patel existed. And I request the convener of this seminar, Professor Khare, to bring out an edited volume where we should talk about Patel Charit. We should bring out, as Professor Arvind Kumar was mentioning, the archival sources. where these are unexplored archival sources, and that should be the guideline. And we are still a nation in building, and today we still require the guidelines of Patel as the guideline for building our nation. I end by giving my deepest regards to Professor Khare for inviting me and Professor Arvind Kumar to making the liaison. Thank you. Namaskar.